Hello, welcome to Todd Miller TV, joined here today with Juana again, and we are going to talk about investors who have a real estate license. So there's some advice on the internet, and people talk about this a lot. Like, if I'm an investor, tell me some of the advantages if you're an investor and you have a real estate license. Like, what are some advantages of that?
So if you're an investor and you have a real estate license, then hopefully you have some market knowledge. Hopefully you have some contract knowledge.
Okay.
And you're able to purchase properties, know the value of them, know the sort of repairs and improvements that will increase your return on your investment versus repairs and improvements that have no value, really. They're pretty, but they have no value.
Okay, good. What if you're a realtor and you're a realtor in the marketplace and you do invest and you're an investor, but your full-time job?
Okay.
That's probably an advantage, right?
Sure, absolutely, because you're spending your time searching out properties, visiting properties, evaluating them for whatever your goal is, whether it's to flip them or to rent them.
Okay. So what about the investor whose wife goes and gets her real estate license so that she can write up the deals and earn the commissions? What are some of the drawbacks to that, potentially?
Okay, so if you are an investor, or if you are related to an investor or have any sort of a relationship with that investor, then you have to disclose that when you make an offer on a property.
Okay.
So if you're a spouse, if you're a parent, if you have a financial relationship with that person, so say for example that you're an investor and your agent is you have another joint business together, not this one but a different joint business together, you still have a financial relationship with that person, so you still have to disclose that. So any sort of outside relationship that you have beyond that that transaction, that probably would need to be disclosed. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference as far as how a seller views that, but it is legally required that you disclose that.
Okay, what about from a market knowledge point of view? You know, the wife maybe has a job, maybe stay-at-home mom, is just basically using the license to facilitate and, try to get the commission. Do you think there could be any drawbacks to that?
Well, as long as the investor knows what he's doing, then that's fine. He's simply using her license to get the commission, and that's fine. If he's depending on her having market knowledge just by virtue of having a license, that is not an appropriate way to view a license. A license is not the same thing as market knowledge.
Okay. What about the investor who's from, say, California, who comes to Las Vegas, calls you on your listing and says, you're the listing agent and I want to buy the property. I want to use you because you are the listing agent, but I want you to pay me the commission as a referral. The whole commission is a referral fee, but they want you to handle everything.
Well, every agent has to make their own business decision.
Okay.
From my perspective, that doesn't make sense for a lot of reasons. Number one, I get to do the work.
Okay.
Number two, I have the liability.
Okay.
And number three, why would I not want to have a buyer that I'm actually going to keep the money on? That doesn't make a lot of sense. We see it more actually with investors saying, "Hey, can I have part of the commission as a referral fee?" If they're a real estate licensee, then that is something that we can do. If they're not a real estate licensee, then no referral fees.
Okay. What about when they use the line, well, but you want to sell it, don't you? So this way you'll sell it because I'm buying it and you'll sell it, which is what you're supposed to do.
Correct. Well, so two things. One, my properties all sell. So,
okay, and that's because you take sellable listings. I mean, you're not just the agent who just takes random listings hoping they'll sell. You only take a listing if you know you can sell it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So listings sell. And two, as far as I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. We're talking about the investor who wants the whole commission.
Seriously, I just lost my train of thought.
Okay, well that's good. We'll just end it right there then. Okay, so in summary, what would you say for the investor who's thinking about getting a license? What would you say to, like, what advice would you give to them before they actually go do this?
They're welcome to get their license, and that's great. It doesn't, the only thing that a license is going to do for them is it's going to give them access to the commission. Okay? It's not going to impart them with market knowledge. It's not going to get them anything else besides their commission. Now, if they also join the board of Realtors, then that gives them MLS access, which is useful because, you know, obviously the MLS is the fastest way to get information on properties. Other websites have a lag time, so the MLS is the most up-to-date information.
Okay. I think a good analogy is just because you went to law school doesn't mean you want to represent yourself in court, because you may not actually have court experience and understand all the rules.
That's a good analogy.
And if you're an investor buying an investment property, and you want to represent yourself and write the offer up and do all that, you're stuck with all the paperwork and making sure you're compliant and you're doing everything correctly, right?
Right, and then you have all the liability too. And the other thing that I was going to say is that when an investor wants me to represent them, the thing that they need to understand is that for me to represent both the buyer and the seller, there is inherent conflict. No one can serve two masters.
Right.
So at no point are both the buyer and the seller going to be happy. There's going to always be that perception that somebody got the better deal, that somehow I was more loyal to one side than the other.
Right.
So I always like it when people come to me and say, hey, represent me on your listing, I tell them, you know, I totally appreciate that. Let me have somebody on my team represent you. That way you have full representation and you know that you're dealing with somebody that is loyal to you and only to you. You know, particularly when it comes to bank-owned properties, this is how I make my living, and I have obviously a lot of properties with these banks, and it's just an inherent loyalty that comes with a client who gives you a lot of business,
right,
as opposed to a client that you're only going to do one transaction with.
Okay, good. All good information. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. So, anyway, that's my update for today, and hope to see you on another video. Thanks.